Uh, and thank you. Welcome to the Developing and Enhancing Relationships at the Local Level. My name is Tom Madru. I'm the co-chair of the Trustee Development Committee, and I'll be the MC tonight. I'm a 13-year trustee in the Park Ridge Public Library. So, just a couple of administrative things. First of all, please everybody put yourselves on mute so that we don't have any distractions there. And if you have a question, please put the question in the chat box. A few of us will be monitoring them. Our plan is to ask the questions at the end of the presentation. Thank you to the folks who sent in some questions in previous to this, so we should have some questions for them. But I'd like to thank and I'd like to introduce the three speakers tonight. We're very pleased to have John Glidden, the mayor of Closter, Alyssa Latner, a Closter councilwoman and the liaison to the Closter Board of Trustees, and Chris Schultz, an alternate superintendent to he's the alternate to for the superintendent to the Board of Trustees for Bergenfield. And these three folks, we appreciate them being here, and they will be speaking shortly. But before we start, the executive director of Buckles, Dave Hansen, is with us, and he'd like to say a few words of welcome. So please, Dave, go ahead.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you all so much. You know, we often say libraries, we literally can't do this without you. And I'm so stoked about the program tonight because it's about relationship. It's about relationship building. And I think it's so important to remember that we're all in relationship with each other in this amazing thing we call library. We can't do library without trustees, and we certainly would not want to try to do it without the trustees. And the trustees need us, the library folks, to work on making sure libraries are in our community and they're strong and they're places that people can turn to. Today, it's a very interesting world that we live in, and there's precious few places where everybody's welcome. There's precious few places where we can go and make sure that everybody is dealt with dignity and thought of in a way that is great and really makes our community stronger. So we're very excited to have the folks here tonight. I hope it's a great conversation. I know it's going to be a great conversation. And thanks so much for all the people who came out to have this conversation. You could be doing a bunch of other things. I think the NC2A volleyball tournament kicks off today. I don't know if anybody cares, but I am so stoked that you decided to be here with us today. And with that, I give it back to Tom. Tom?
Thank you, Dave. Excuse me. We also have Mimi Hoy with us. Mimi is the director of the Hasbrook Heights Public Library, but she is also the president this year of the Buckles organization, and she too would just like to say a few words of welcome. Mimi?
Thank you so much, Tom. Good evening, everyone. Warmest welcome to our program this evening. You're in for a special treat. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us this evening. As trustees, you are the library's advocacy champions. Your voice carries weight with our local officials. Use it. I encourage you, every conversation, every meeting, every handshake is a chance to show how the library strengthens our community. So step forward with confidence and speak with passion and help our leaders see what we already know, that the library is essential and your advocacy makes all the difference. And we have our guest speakers tonight, all our three guest speakers. I want to thank them because you're a library champion in our eyes for being here this evening. So thank you. We're listening. Enjoy the program.
Thank you, Mimi. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our first panelist, His Honor, the Mayor of Closter, Mayor John Glidden.
Well, thanks everybody, and thanks for being here. and thanks for inviting me as well. Uh, the Closter Library is one of our gems in town, and it's run well. It's got an excellent board of trustees. I don't feel like either I or the members of the council have to step into the operations of the library. We're not supposed to, under the law, although our duties include the appointment of trustees. And I want to say that we have an excellent board of trustees, and they really care about the library. They care about the programs, and I couldn't be more proud of our library. One of the things that I think about in terms of trustees, I like to make sure that we have a very broad spectrum of talents. We always have somebody who's grounded in education, somebody who's grounded in business, somebody who's grounded in IT, which are all the marks of running a top quality library. I have to confess that our libraries run so well that I don't have to stay on top of it myself. Alyssa Latner, who's on here and is a councilwoman and the liaison to the library, sits on the board, and she'll report, any concerns she might have or any opportunities she might see to improve the library. But I'll give you an example of how much I appreciate this library. There are just a wondrous number of programs in our library, and I've got to go onto the library website just to look through them every once in a while. And I do that. And about 6 weeks ago, I went on the Closter Library website, and I didn't realize that one of the things that was on there was the genealogy program. And I looked into it, and I looked it up, and I found out that you could actually trace your family tree. And I spent the next 4 weeks tracing my family tree on this genealogy program, and I found out some interesting things. One of the things I found out that I was related to a former vice president of the United States by the name of Dick Cheney. I didn't know that in the past. But the number of programs there are absolutely wondrous. I know many libraries in the Buckle system have well-developed programs like that. I also want to say that I think the Buckle system is a very successful organization. I mean, 20 years ago, you went to your library. If you couldn't find a book, you just have to wait until they got it. Maybe 6 weeks later, you got it. But nowadays, you can find it almost anywhere in one of the other libraries, and that's thanks to the Buckle system. We is in terms of finance, we obviously include the costs of running the library in our budget every year, and that is set by state law. There's a millage that is required. I will tell you that in the 20 years that I've been on the mayor and council of Closter, we've never had a problem with that. There have been a couple of times where the library has asked for a little bit more here, a little bit more there, and we've always provided that. We're fortunate in a town where we have very fast-growing property values, which result in assessments, which sets the mill. And there have been times when the library has gotten more money than they actually need, and we've asked for some of it back, and we've gotten it back through various payments and services that we provide. For instance, the DPW, and we cover the fringe benefits of the employees, and the library has been willing to give the overage back when we needed it. So it's a wonderful relationship that we have. As I said, we stay out of the operations as long as we don't hear anything bad. And I couldn't be more happy with the Closter Library. And I couldn't be more happy with the Buckle system. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate your comments. Now I'd like to introduce Alyssa Latner. As the mayor indicated, she is a councilwoman in Closter, and she is the liaison to the Closter Board of Trustees. And would like to hear from her. Alyssa, please.
Sure. Hi, thank you so much for having me. Um, my warm memories of the library began when I moved to town, and my twins at the time were 3, and we used to go to story time. So that was my first venture into the Closter Library. Throughout everything that's transpired, I have served on the council since 2010 and been very lucky and grateful to spend that whole time serving as the liaison to the library. As the mayor explained certain aspects, I will say that we're very grateful that there's really never been any problems or issues because there is open communication. I try to report back to the mayor and council at our monthly meetings, whatever has been going on, programs, purchases, maintenance, just so that they're aware of all the different options that take place. As the mayor said, he participated in a program. I'm I don't know about other libraries, but we have so many different things from music to children's programming to book clubs. I mean, our weekly newsletter is just filled with all kinds of opportunities and learning experiences. So, whatever I can provide, I can just say, I can reinforce what the mayor said that when you put it that way, Mayor, yes, we do have people with different specialties. I never thought of it, but I know who the IT person is. I know who the education person is. We have an incredible president on the board who just is so dedicated to everything that he provides for us, as well as our head librarian. We're extremely fortunate, and being the library liaison has truly been a joy for me, and I'm very proud of the Closter Library.
Thank you very much, Alyssa. And now I'd like to introduce Chris Langschultz from tell us a little bit about the Board of Education role and how that interacts with the libraries. Chris is the representative on the library for Bergenfield. Chris, please.
Good evening, everyone. That's correct. I've been on the serving as the alternate for the superintendent since 2011. So I've been there for quite some time. I've been with the Bergenfield School District since 2002. I've worked in IT, graphic design. I'm doing payroll and accounting now, public relations. I'm still doing. I've sat on this board. I sit on a on the municipal alliance in the borough. Um, so I've got a lot going on, but I've also got a lot of experience and different areas, and I think it's been good to share that with the library whenever applicable. I've been there. We've got a great director, Allison, and one other director before that, Mary, who was there for, I think, 12 years prior. Our board currently has my former sixth grade history teacher as our sitting president. So we have a retired teacher. We have a active history teacher currently on the board, and one of our Board of Ed members is on the library board as well. She was actually on the library board prior to running for the Board of Ed. So we've got some overlap there. The town as well, the mayors, the sitting mayors, the current and former, and alternates have been very active over the years as well. So it's been really cool to be a part of. I think it's a great two-way street as far as what we can do and where we get ideas from. So some things I could think of. For one, every year when we hire new staff, we have a new staff orientation in August, and part of that involves jumping on a school bus and touring the town to see where our 7 schools are and our town hall. And then they always make a stop at the library, going back as far as I can remember, to see all the great services there. To meet Allison's always great to host them and show them around and let them know the resources available to them and their students. Even during school days, they host trips. We have a Tri-Valley Autism Academy, so sometimes they'll take trips there to learn about researching and take advantage of the programs. We have a very diverse community in Bergenfield, so the library's ELL programs, I think, are very beneficial to our families and parents who have a language barrier. Going into technology years, I think 2016, going back further than that, the school district, rather than leasing fiber optics, actually ran a network through the whole town, and part of that was connecting into the library. So since 2016, we've been sharing our internet services with the library as a cost savings to them, by bringing them into, so they have their own network, but they do have the backbone of it is internet is on our service. Um, the other thing that's great is, I think for the library is Allison's reached out on occasions asking for support for, something as minute, but also could be disruptive is our middle school's right across the street from the library, and they come out rowdy and they go into the library just to not go home right away, and sometimes they could be a little bit loud and disruptive. And if it becomes a routine, she reaches out, and I could talk to either the superintendent or the middle school principal. Maybe we just renovated the YA room, so that opened a couple of months ago, and to set the tone, she reached out to invite Dr. Tully, myself, principal, assistant principals, to come down to see it for one, but also just to because there were a lot of kids there for the ribbon cutting, but to just to let them know, to be respectful. Um, every year we give an award to someone in the community that made a big impact. And each year when that's presented, there's usually a show as well. So like our band sometimes participates in functions. So there's a great two-way relationship. Actually, when they were redesigning the logo, they reached out to our graphic arts teacher and put it out there as a contest for the students to come up with logos and present them. And it's been really cool. For one, I've been to plenty of Board of Ed meetings. There is a big difference in many ways between a Board of Ed meeting and a library meeting. For one, you've got much different budgetary concerns, you're relying on you know, the library is not going to go out and put a tax levy out. You got to make do with what you have, um and every dollar is, not to say more important, but it kind of is. I mean, you're working with a lot less and you really have to stretch it. The cost of benefits go up, even though you have much less employees, the impact of that is far greater. There's not much you can do about it. So you really have to work in those confines. So um, um, having that perspective, I've learned a lot. I've definitely learned a lot. And anytime I could come up with ideas or share things that we've done at the school to save money, or uh, anything creative that we've done that might be applicable to the library, I'm never hesitant to share, and the board's always very receptive and appreciative to hear my viewpoint. And again, we have educators on the board as well, so they've obviously have experience as well. But it's been great. I can't believe, because when I was asked to put a little blurb about myself together for this, I had to dig back to see when I was appointed as the alternative to the superintendent, and the email was back in 2011. I'm like, wow, that's a long time. Um, but um, the issues have changed. We've done a lot to the library. A lot of great programs have come in over the years, different renovations, and I think the community really sees it as a huge asset to them. I rarely ever hear anything negative. Everybody's very pleased at how much they offer. They have something for everybody. The museum passes, the online language learning software. I mean, there's just a million. The internet. I'll have to ask Allison because I can't remember what it's called. I think it's the Library of Things or something like that, where you can come in and get a screw gun if you need to fix something at home instead of going down to Home Depot to purchase one. There's all these things. There's badminton nets and like anything you could possibly think of available for somebody to take out. So it's just really awesome to have seen where it was when I got on, where it is now, and being a part of that evolution of bringing what the community needs. And we're actually working on a new strategic plan. So we're looking at the old one and trying to figure out what the next chapter is going to look like. But I'm really appreciative and humbled by the invitation to speak. And if you have any questions, I'll be here.
Thank you very much, Chris. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we did have a number of people send in some questions in advance, and I have them here, and I'm going to go through them and ask uh, whoever feels most appropriate to answer it. First one leads with funding. As we all know, everybody's quote unquote hurting for funds these days. And even though we are recipients of a third of the mill tax from the towns in taxes, occasionally there may be reasons that isn't enough money to do even the basics, like to stay open on a weekend or to be open a couple of nights a week or to do other things that just need to be done. So my first question is, what is the best approach for asking the municipal body for funds if they need to exceed a third of the mill? Mr. Mayor, would you answer that one?
Sure, I'll take that one. The best approach. Well, first of all, I probably have some ignorance here because in the 20 years that I've been on the council, there really hasn't been a major ask on the part of the library in excess of the third of a mil that were required by law to give them. And in fact, in the last couple of years, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, we're fortunate and closer to have higher than usual increases in our property values. So the assessment is going up, and that has afforded the library with just about everything that they need. There have been years in the past where the library board has requested additional funding for certain expenditures, very small. They came to the Marion Council, asked for it, and we gave it to them. And as I said earlier as well, the increase in the valuations has been so high that our library has more than it needs to run an efficient operation and run these programs. So they've given some of it back. So it's a give and take. So I in terms of a process, I just say just ask.
Yeah, we've been very very fortunate that way. Absolutely.
As a follow-up to that, i- is the best approach from a, would you feel that this is something that the director should make the presentation to you, or is this a require, would the Board of Trustees be involved, do you feel, or how and is it I can't believe it's just as simple as walking in and saying, hey, we need $10,000. So
No, no, it's
how
not.
how
It's
would
not.
you how would you
Yeah.
how would you appreciate the library to participate in that request?
Well, we have a an excellent library director in Ruth Rando, and she has a good relationship with our administrator Jim Winters. And the first conversation goes between the two of them, and then they decide how to handle it. If it's necessary for a trustee or the chairman of the board of trustees to come to the council and explain why. Uh, we actually haven't had that happen in a number of years. Uh, but we happen to have such a good relationship in Closter that nobody's really worried about that. It happens, and we could always say no. But most likely, if the board has a good reason for spending extra money, we're going to listen. I'm sure that's not the case in every library system, in every library in Buckles. I think we're fortunate in Closter to have the makeup, the relationship between the mayor and council, the administrator, the library director, and the board of trustees uh, of the library is a very good one.
Yeah, I would piggyback on that and say, if there were a reason or some kind of a request, I would probably start to lay the groundwork out as the liaison. And as the mayor said,
Yeah.
different areas in
Yeah.
the town, like the nature center or other programs, they come and make a whole case. But we have not needed that at all. And I will say that we have a wonderful Friends of the Library, like a whole donation account that with funds in there. And overall, the board and the trustees are very grateful for everything. So they kind of go out of their way to not need to ask for anything, really using everything that we are provided with. So that could be a real exception, Tom. I'm not sure, but we have not had to go and make that request.
Okay, thank you. And again, I'm glad you both use the word so frequently and using the word relationships, because this is what's important, and to have a good relationship. And is would you to enhance the relationship, and this is also for Chris as well, to enhance the good relationships between both bodies. Uh, would there be advantages for someone from the library or the board of trustees to attend monthly mayor and council meetings or monthly school board meetings?
I don't think so. It's good to see folks from the library at a council meeting once in a while, just so that we can talk about what we're doing, both in the town and at the library. Uh, but I think the relationships are so good right now. We have a good understanding of the library, and Alyssa, I think, as a liaison, has the responsibility of the communication between the two bodies, and she does a great job.
Right, Tom, that's really what I would do in my capacity. I mean, every library board meeting, I will report to them whatever might be relevant for the library to know that's going on in town. That's often the last few minutes of our meeting, just so that they're informed. And then vice versa, when I make my report at the council meetings, I'll let them know about whatever, new purchases or improvements or furniture, just so that they're aware. Oh, please stop by. Make sure you go see this. And so I believe that as the liaison, that's really my job. So whatever communicating needs to be done, I try and be that conduit between both.
Thank you. That's again, that shows the importance of having the liaisons. Chris, is there anything you'd like to add to that, or is that pretty much the same thing?
So just on a normal basis, there's a great, I think, a great relationship between the three, the schools, the town, and the library. And I think there's a open channel for anything that doesn't require necessarily waiting for a monthly meeting to discuss. So I know the superintendent and the borough administrator have open communications and collaborate to plan town events that might involve the school or whatever the case might be. And I know our director has an open line of communication with our borough administrator. Um, I think, well, so going back to the first point and kind of tying into this one in 2024, we were the borough all around things were tight. So, we presented a budget and well, Allison did, and the feel initially was that, we were going to have to make some cuts. So, um, Allison's always been that front line of presenting the budget, and we've never really had to be involved in it before. But in 2024, we actually had four trustees at the council's um, budget presentation to explain the dire need of why we're asking for this money and what it would mean if we didn't get the funding, and potentially closing a night of the week or cutting hours or wherever you could to make up for that shortfall. So, um, you know, to the first question, I think the director is usually great for that first line, especially because it might be intimidating or imposing to show up with a couple trustees to go show up to the borough administrator or council and kind of catch them off guard. Let them have that dialogue first and find out and ask to be heard at the budget presentation so that you can explain your case and have representation from the board or the Friends of the Library or whoever might come out to show support and show how important the library is. Having been to all three types of meetings, to go regularly would probably not be too beneficial. I mean, it's great to know what's going on and it's great to come check in on things, but at some point you probably would get a little fatigued hearing about everybody's problems, and what you're facing and probably overload. But having the communication on a regular basis goes a long way, and not having to make it um, part of a public meeting, especially because our agendas are already pretty packed. So to like bring a ton of new business and things like that could easily be uh, talked about or discussed and not have to wait until the next meeting. Um, so I think that the relationship's the important thing more so than uh frequency of being seen, I guess, at these meetings.
Thank you. Next question I have, I know it's been mentioned, and I know Alyssa mentioned it, that it's pretty clear that the law is pretty clear about the fact that the municipalities and the boards of education have no say in the operation of of the library. Um, does that, in your mind, does that also include it- does that include library employee compensation, including that of the director?
Well, we don't, our in closer, board mayor and council does not exercise any control over employee compensation. I would suppose that if employee compensation got out of whack with what's the norm, that we would at least comment on it. But we have found, at least in the last 20 years, that we don't need to do that. The board of trustees and the director of the library do a pretty good job. of that. Alyssa, you think?
I was just going to say, really, if the borough employees are getting a 2% raise, then the library pretty much follows that in terms of, with their budget. And we are extremely fortunate to have the incredible staff that we do. And, there is always an eye on, we don't want people being underpaid, so having to keep an eye on that. But we've tried to really stay, critical of making sure that they're right in there with what they should be earning. But there's never been a time when the mayor and council has any say in it.
Thank you. Um, if you have if you need a new trustee, what attributes or experience do you look for, especially for the mayor in this case, before appointing a new trustee to the board?
Well, what I look for, I think I mentioned earlier in my opening remarks, I like to see a broad backgrounds of the individual trustee. I like to see somebody who's involved in education, somebody who's involved in business, somebody who's involved in medicine and computer skills. So I look for all of that. The turnover on our board of trustees is very low. We have some trustees that have been on there for quite some time. But when I'm appointing members, I look for those diversity of backgrounds. I also like to take a look at age to a certain extent. We like to have some younger people coming on. A lot of the board members tend to be retired, and getting younger people on the board helps get the community more involved and gets the communication going about services that the library can provide. Alyssa, you got a comment there?
No, I mean, I'm just, like I said, thinking of everybody who kind of serves a purpose like that on the board. You've always done an excellent job. And the only time recently he had to appoint someone was unfortunately when we had a trustee die a few years ago. And he had been on it for a long time and enjoyed it so much. But I think that everybody does have a different skill set for sure. Typically, we have the librarian from one of the schools who always is able to let us know what's going on in the schools and vice versa, so things can be coordinated with that. And I'm just thinking, I know, the different specialties and strengths that everybody else on the board provides. I never thought of it that way, Mayor, but it is a good group because I think everything really gets covered from the fastidiousness of the budgets to everything that obviously, our director does, keeping us informed on whatever is new going on out there and making sure that all of our trustees, play a part in every decision that we face.
Okay. So I just a kind of a follow-up there is in your town, does the process is it usually a citizen goes directly to the mayor or to you and say, I'd like to be on the library board, or does the director or a trustee tell you that there are people who are interested? How does that
Well,
process kind of work?
the first thing that I do when vacancy comes up is I'll have a conversation with the president of the board of trustees, who I know well, who's been involved in the library and cares so much about it, and we'll talk about potential replacements for a departing trustee, and we have a process in Closter where we encourage citizens regularly to volunteer. We have many boards and commissions in Closter, and occasionally there'll be somebody that wants to go on the library board. So I will send it to the president of the board. What do you think about this person? And if there's a fit, we make an appointment. If it's not a fit, we move on to somebody else. I may have a candidate who has expressed to me a desire to be on the board, or the president might have a candidate. We work that together, and we come to a consensus decision.
Thank you. Next question I have, are there, is there any real process or any way that especially newer trustees can develop a more effective working relationship, both with the mayor and council and also, Chris, with the Board of Education? What kinds of things can trustees do to make sure that that relationship stays solid and stays positive?
You're on mute, Chris.
My space bar didn't want to unmute me. We've been very fortunate. So going back to my previous superintendent, who appointed me as his alternative, back in 2011, before that, he was very active on the library board and everywhere he could in town. So we've never known a bad relationship between the two where there had to have been any effort there. But I suppose maybe, inviting the superintendent, if they're not actively coming to the meetings, because obviously they have a place there, but not, I'm sure in every town, it might not be feasible. Maybe the superintendent lives an hour away, so getting them to come out or getting an alternative person to come out from the district might not be a normal thing. So in that case, maybe encouraging, and inviting them, letting them know, that you really are looking to have a good relationship between the schools, and explore ways to be collaborative, that benefits both, and having somebody at the school from the school be present at as many library meetings as possible would benefit both sides. I mean, it's like I said earlier, it's really been a two-way street as far as who's doing what for who. I mean, it's just a beneficial relationship to have, and uh, I can imagine there's could be towns where that relationship doesn't exist and there really hasn't been a need, and they're both their own entities and they have their own things to deal with. But um, you know reaching out, just reach out and make contact, and if you're here tonight and you hear anything that I shared, throughout this that sparks something in your mind of something you can do back in your library, share that with them. Say, hey, we hear Bergenfield is very active on the library board, and they've been helping each other out in many different ways, and we'd like to try to get that same kind of relationship.
To turn it, next question kind of turns things around. Obviously, certainly from the mayor's point of view, since you're appointing new trustees, you know who they are and you've met with them and talked with them. But if I'm a trustee who's been on a while and the mayor and council, the mayor or the liaison changes, is it important that the trustees reach out to the new mayor and possibly in the case of the school, new superintendent to create a relationship with them, or is it best to work through the liaison?
No, listen. I think if there's a change in the mayor, the council in our town, very important for the president of the board to reach out to the mayor and members of the board to reach out to the mayor and council, the new mayor or new council to establish their own relationships, because I've got very good relationships with members of the board of trustees of the library, and it's over. I've been in office for 10 years, so I've been there a while, and the relationships are excellent. They're excellent.
Well, thank you. I I don't see any questions in the chat box, and I we run out of pre-delivered questions. I
I'll make one comment for you. There's one uh, 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 the one question that I thought that was very interesting, and that question was, why is it difficult for library boards to clarify to local government officials that the library functions autonomously? I thought that was a very interesting question, and it started me thinking, because it's not a problem in our town. Now I have a number of organizations that of mayors groups both throughout the state and in Bergen County. For instance, I'm president of the Bergen County League of Municipalities. We also have a Northern Valley Mayors Association, and we discuss these things. And some of my brethren mayors do complain about the relationships they have with their library, and why do they need so much money, and can't we get some of it back? And gosh, we're having a real budget hole this year, and we've got to give a third of a mil to the library. And in closer, what that means is we have a roughly $15 million municipal budget, and we give $1 million to the library. We have a great library. Everybody's happy with that. Some other towns, some of the other mayors that I've talked to, aren't so fortunate, and they will complain about how much money is spent on the library. Do they all need that much? That it goes. It's a town by town situation. I'm fortunate that we don't have that problem, but some others do.
Yeah.
It could be quite subjective because if you're facing financial crisis, you start to look at what are essential services, and depending on
You look at everything. You're absolutely right. You look at everything.
yeah, so depending on what your lens is, you either look at a library as an essential service or you don't. So you can't control um who feels which way, but the community um it can be a great advocate, to show up if there's maybe some tension there, or like, any questioning of what the libraries does for the community, um, surveying the community and sharing the thoughts of the people who use it, and how vital the services that the library offers are, and that there is no other alternative for them if the library wasn't there. There's so many things that people, I mean, and we keep adding stuff, but like, we have people coming for passports, a lot of, tons of passports, and just needing a space to sit down. I mean, Bergenfield doesn't have, we have Dunkin' Donuts, it's not, there's no Panera Bread, Starbucks, open Wi-Fi, go, hang out there for 3 hours and do your work. That's the library. Again, back to the kids coming out of school, a place to go to do their homework, to until their parents get home from work. It's almost a daycare in that sense, an after school program. There's just so much uh that a library provides to a community. And if you're not going and using the services, you could, I guess you could easily think, oh, if I'm not down there, what do we need it for? But people need it, so it's important. And whatever way you can do to open their eyes to that, and whether that's presenting all the services, or having your community speak up in a sense of how important it is, to kind of be an eye opener for those who might not understand what happens down at the library.
It,
Uh, could
it's
be
almost
imperative.
it's almost like an essential service.
Yeah, it is.
Depending, and it's like if somebody's not aware of that, there's almost any type of program or some way to get anyone that hasn't participated to use the library in whatever capacity. It's not just going there for books anymore. I mean, it's a cooling station in the summer, a heating
Yeah.
station in the winter, a safe place, research.
When
We have walls up with, testimonials to people in our town. So like a history of just what's gone on in Closter. Music programs. Like I said, there is just so much there. I almost think of it more as like a cultural arts center, and there's books, but it's just much more diverse than I think people realize. And for anybody that does question it, you almost want to say, well, then come on in, we'll find something for
yeah,
you. Yeah,
they were almost forced to come down. Not that we have needed them to, but Borough Hall renovated and they needed a place to have their meetings. So we were hosting council meetings down at
right,
the library.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Uh, it seems very clear to me that if it wasn't clear before, maybe that it's crucial that that boards of trustees, first of all, it's crucial that the liaison to both to the mayor and council and the liaison to the school board, that relationship has to be very strong, and the people that sit on the in those positions have to be very library oriented and very much advocates of the library so that they can go back to their particular boards and pass out the good news. And you three folks have certainly done that. And I think it's very important that happens. So thank you very much for sharing all of that with us. Uh, do we have any other questions from the floor or any other comments that any of our three panelists would like to make that they feel we should know that we haven't covered?
Hmm.
Hey, thank you all. I appreciate the fact that everybody who is on could take the time and come and spend the time with us. I want to thank Mayor Glidden, Councilwoman Latner, and Assistant Superintendent Langschultz for coming and spending the time with us and giving us this great information. Um, I do want to make a couple of points. First about uh, some administrative things. We ask that you attendees do the evaluations. Um, we really appreciate those evaluations. The Trustee Development Committee has tries to put together programs and roundtables that are meaningful to you. And the way we know they're meaningful and educational, we hope for you and informative for you, is by you completing those evaluations and telling us what you would want us to present to you. We try to do um, somewhere around 4 or 5 programs a year. We do approximately 6 roundtables a year, and we really get many of our ideas from your thoughts and comments. Um, I also so please complete those. Uh, you all will qualify for certificates of education for this program, and they will be sent to you from the Buckles office within the next couple of weeks. Uh, I should also let you know that the program has been recorded and will be available in the next few days, and information as to how to get to that will be sent to you as well. Um, Also, just some other things about the um, Trustee Development Committee. We will be restarting a mentorship program where for the new and newer trustee, if they wish, they can sign up and say they'd wish to have a mentor, and we will provide mentors who from not necessarily from your library, but from a different library, which sometimes helps because uh, you get a bit different, little bit of a different picture, but we have a number of volunteers who wish to do that. The program has been in effect and has been very successful. Also, the trustees we present a newsletter every once a quarter, and there'll be one coming out in the winter. That newsletter lets you know about programs and roundtables that are coming up and other things that the trustee development committee is trying to do to help you. And one final thing, we have an email group. So if you wish to, this will help you get the newsletter and get you previous preview ideas of what's coming up. So if you are interested in joining that group, please send your email address to Darlene Swisstock at Buckles, and she will also put that in there the when she sends out the certificates as to what that is, because then we can include you. Uh, so that's it from me. Again, thank you everybody for coming, and I appreciate it, and I know the board appreciates it, and we're very glad that you were here, and we thank our speakers again. And I want to wish everybody a very happy holiday and a very happy and healthy new year. And that concludes our program. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks very
you.
much. Same to you.
Thank you. Good night.
All right, all.